Imagine you have an important quiz or exam in just 2 days, and you haven't done anything since the very start. What will you do? This might sound familiar to most people, and to be honest, I was in the same condition in my student life. I was a distracted student, and my focus was so low that my eyes would hurt if I just looked at a book for more than 30 minutes. I was depressed because my parents had great expectations from me, and I was always overthinking about what if I fail. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, all the distractions assassinated my focus. But one day, I decided to stand up for myself. I decided to make the greatest comeback of my life, and in just a month, I was at the top of my class. Everyone thought that I had cheated, but in reality, it was just these 5 steps that helped me go from a nobody to a topper in my class. Listen up very carefully. You don't have a focus problem. You have a dopamine addiction problem. Right now, your brain is wired to seek instant gratification. It can't bear to watch anything longer than 8 seconds. Why? Because you have wired it to do so. Every transition, every song, every reel floods your brain with dopamine. But that's not even the worst part. Every time you give in to your brain, you make the problem even worse. Your brain gets used to instant rewards. You stop putting your focus into deep, meaningful, and long-term goals. But there's something even scarier, more sinister, going on. You're not even realizing that you're addicted. Don't worry, you can still rewire your brain for more focus. First of all, delete all social media that is just a source of entertainment, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Delete your biggest distraction. After that, you need to adopt the work first, reward later mindset. If you want to watch a new episode of Solo Leveling, promise yourself that you will complete your work first. This will drastically improve your focus by 30%. And lastly, keep yourself accountable. Write down all the things that are taking away your precious time without giving you any outcome. Stay away from those activities completely. Right now, your brain is broken. It's like a drug center for dopamine. Your willpower is destroyed, and your thoughts are hijacked. Every time you tell yourself, I'll start studying after this video, you are injecting more poison into your brain. You are no different from a goldfish, because both of you share the same focus span, and it's all because of the cheap dopamine filling your head. If you stay in this condition, you will remain mediocre, while the people behind you will succeed. But don't worry, because it's very easy to detox your brain. You see, the problem isn't dopamine, but the source. The source that gives you the cheap dopamine is the real poison. Due to these dopamine hits, your focus shatters to just a few seconds. You just have to switch the cheap dopamine with deep work dopamine. At first, you will think, oh, this is too hard. But if you keep grinding, in just a week, you will start getting dopamine from deep work. However, you need to empty your brain from the cheap one first. Here's how you can do it. Instead of swiping through reels or stories, replace it with reading books. Even if you want to watch videos, replace them with longer, productive videos like this one. Instead of eating junk food, make a good diet schedule. Make an aim to never listen to music while studying. And lastly, no more corn, because it gives the most lethal dopamine hit. By just following these 5 easy pillars, your brain will be reset to default, and you will have all the space to fill up with your studies. This is something I have already talked about in my previous videos, but it is probably one of the biggest factors holding students back from reaching their full potential, and that is procrastination. Procrastination is a trap, and most students fall prey to it. They miss deadlines, they cheat in exams, they get bad grades, all while thinking, this is hard. Imagine what happens when you sit down to study. Just 5 minutes in, you start looking at your phone, you open YouTube in the side tab, you wait for the clock to hit 12 so you can start working, and then, in just the blink of an eye, an hour passes by. Now, it's clear. The task wasn't hard. It was you who doomed yourself. If you procrastinate more, you will continue to become weaker, dumber, and stressed. So, ask yourself, are you an emotional slave who gives up in the swirl of emotions? Are you someone who really wants to be the best student? Now, if you have chosen the second option, here's how you can kill procrastination once and for all. First, adopt the do-it-now mindset. If you feel that some subject is difficult, instead of doing it later, do it first. This will channel more energy into it, and you will get better results. Second, use the 2-minute trick. This trick means that you have to study the difficult things first, and once you start, you'll realize your brain now thinks, oh, this is actually easy. Lastly, set a deadline for each task. When you set a deadline, you will have less time for procrastination and more time to prepare for your exams, assignments, and quizzes. Remember, reality is not as hard as we think. Take a look at your screen and tell me how many tabs are currently open. More than 80% of my audience would have multiple tabs running in the background. WhatsApp, YouTube, assignment, TikTok, all open. And you're still wondering why you can't focus on your studies? You check a WhatsApp message. You just want to check this reel real quick your homie sent you. And just like that, you go on a distraction spree. You might think opening different tabs is harmless, but studies have shown that having multiple tabs open in the background can decrease productivity by 40%. But you can remove all of these distractions and solely focus on your studies by implementing the one-tab rule. Here's how. Step 1. Close all of your tabs. No Spotify music, no motivational videos on YouTube, no Discord chats on the side. Step 2. Press F11 and go into full screen mode. This way, you can't see anything else other than your study material. It also makes it easier to enter deep focus mode. Step 3. Even after doing all of this, some random thought will still pop up in your mind, but don't you dare to open a new tab. Instead, write those unimportant tasks on the side and check them only after you're finished with your study session. Step 4. Use apps that block distractions. Apps like Focus App and Cold Turkey. But, even after doing all of this and following every step I mentioned, there are still some people who will forget everything they learned in just a couple of hours. And that's where this next and final, distraction-shattering, hyper-focusing step jumps in, and it's called be brutally honest with yourself. Tell me, how many times have you studied for hours, rewatched thousands of videos to prepare for an exam, but when the test appears, your brain is more white than milk? That's because you think you know everything, but in reality, you've fallen into the most common trap of passive learning. Watching a lecture doesn't mean you understand it. That's why you need active recall to test your skills. Here's the difference. In passive learning, you study or read over and over again, thinking that you'll cram it into your brain. Meanwhile, in active recall, you close your notes and try to recall everything after an hour. At first, this will feel uncomfortable, but it will sharpen your focus like nothing else. Not only that, it takes effort, and since most students are lazy, you will no longer be part of the cattle. Instead, you will be way ahead of them. Here's how you can implement it in real life. First, write down the important points and turn them into multiple choice questions. It's like taking notes, but better, because as you write, you'll start remembering it. Second, use flashcards to test yourself. Apps like Quizlet are a game changer for active recall, but don't look at the answer until you've used every single brain cell. Third, use the Feynman technique, which means teach someone the same thing you just learned. If you're an introvert, just imagine a student sitting next to you who has the same problems as you. Once you teach someone, you'll never forget the topic again. Now, here's a bonus tip. If you urgently need to score high, put 20% of your time into studying the topic and 80% of your time into testing yourself. At first, I thought this was just some random crap from an ancient book, but once I tried it myself, nobody, and I mean nobody, came close to where I was. So, whenever you feel lost or think that studying is hard, just remember, nobody wants to do the hard tasks, and that's exactly why you can step over others, just by putting in a tiny bit of extra effort. Now, if you're still struggling even after watching this video, watch this next one, where I break down exactly how I became a top 1% student in my class. Click it now.